But that's our job. Our job is to really understand those fans and to really create something as the essence of this area and makes it feel like home the first time you walk in the door.
Rick, thank you so much for sitting down with me. First question, when did you fall in love with basketball?
So in 1967, the NBA expanded to Seattle, Washington, and I fell in love with my brand new team, the Seattle Supersonics, who were an expansion team, which meant they were really bad, playing in an arena that had been repurposed from the 1962 Seattle World's Fair, and it was what I did with my dad. So he and I would go to games, football games. Now we could go to Sonics games. And I did fall in love with the game, but I think more than that, I fell in love with what that team meant to the city, and a city that had never had a major league professional team before. And seeing 14,000 people who had nothing in common except their love for that one Seattle Supersonics team come together, I think that's what really set me on my path, because you could really see the impact that that team had on that community and what it meant to people to be a part of it.
Now, we've all seen the iconic photo of you as a ball boy for the Sonics, but the way you got that job was a little bit shady. Tell us what you did.
All on the up and up. So the coolest kid at Queen Anne High School, where I was going to school, was Earl Woodson. Earl was the coolest kid because he was a ball kid for my favorite team, the Seattle Supersonics. So we would hide in the back of our English lit class out of sight of the teacher. And Earl would give me the scoop on my favorite players and everything about my favorite team. And Earl came in one day with a very sad face. And it's like, dude, what's wrong? He goes, my family's moving out of town, which was my opportunity, right? Earl. Like, you gotta take me down and introduce me to whoever that is that hires the ball kids, which he did. It was Jack Kern, the trainer for the Sonics. And at 16 years old, I was a ball boy for my favorite team. It kind of was the dream of a lifetime.
You ever talked to Earl since?
Yes. Actually, just about the time I was ready to retire from the Warriors, our amazing media relations director at the Golden State Warriors, Raymond Ritter, tracked down Earl Woodson. And, somebody I hadn't talked to in 60 years, 50 years, I don't know. And, we caught up on each other's lives, laughed a little bit about how I told the Earl Woodson story. But yeah, I actually had a chance to reconnect a few years ago.
Man, Rick, you talk about the early days of the NBA, the Sonics, 14,000 people. It looks a lot different right now. When you think about those early days, what comes to mind?
Well, it was a team and a league at that time that was just kind of finding its footing. It was founded in 1946, so it hadn't been around for very long. It was dominated by the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. Once in a while, the Lakers would sneak in. I thought it was really cool. What I didn't really realize is kind of the state of the NBA, which I, after my time at the Sonics, would end up working in the NBA league office and finding out that, amongst the American sports leagues, it was not a particularly well-respected league. And when I got there, it had fallen on, some really strenuous, difficult times in terms of its public image.
David Stern convinces you to come. Talk to me about your role in the NBA starting out.
So I never heard of this guy, David Stern. He was executive vice president for business and legal affairs of the NBA. I had a phone message from him, and I called this number back, and he introduced himself and said, why don't you come back to New York and we'll have a chat. I'd like to know a little bit more about you. So I got to go to New York, which was really exciting. I'd only been there once in my life. I got to spend a night in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, which was amazing. Walk over to the Olympic Tower, and my half-hour meeting with Stern probably went 2 hours. Wow. And I think he saw in me what he was looking for in starting a business operation. Now you have to remember, at this time, like the NBA scheduled games, assigned referees, ran the draft, that was pretty much it. There was no business operation at the NBA, so that was his job to start that at the league. And I checked all 3 of his important boxes. I was passionate about the NBA. I'd come from Seattle. We won a championship. I thought everybody, the NBA is the greatest thing ever. I was young, very young. And most importantly, I was really cheap. Till the day he died, we still disagreed on my starting salary at the NBA. I know he paid me $47,000 a year. He swears it was not a penny over $42,000, and we just had to agree to disagree. But my first job was to go out and be the first person ever. I know it sounds crazy today. First person ever to go out and talk to really good companies about investing marketing dollars in the NBA. That had not been a function at the NBA before. And as I said, the NBA was in a terrible public relations place. It was more talk about teams going out of business than expansion, mismanagement at the team level, first league accused of widespread drug use by its players. Shortly after I got there, Sports Illustrated cover a deflated NBA basketball, and a very matter-of-fact story about how America would never accept this league as a mainstream league because obviously 2/3 of the athletes are African American, and America will never embrace a sport like that. So that was my backdrop of trying to go out and convince people to invest in the NBA. It was not a great job, not a great job.
But it started like a wild ride for you. You're credited with the NBA All-Star Game as we know it now. How'd that all come about?
I was desperate to sell something and keep my job, stay employed. And we were going, give you a timeline, we were going to the All-Star in Denver, 1984 in February. Denver had a great ABA heritage, and the president of the ABA, or president of the Nuggets, came to New York in November. That's when we started planning February All-Star games back then. Yeah, and suggested that wouldn't it be great if we did a slam dunk contest to honor the ABA heritage of the Denver Nuggets, because that in 1976, one of the great, most historic events in basketball history, was the 1976 ABA slam dunk contest, where a young Julius Erving, slam dunked the ball, taking off from the free throw line, something no one had ever seen before. It's legendary. You go to Denver today, I've talked to at least 100,000 people who were in the 17,000 seat Nichols Arena that day and witnessed that. The problem was we had other programming going on at halftime when the Nuggets thought we should do that. I went home that night and turned on the TV in my little Manhattan apartment, and a baseball old-timers game was on TV. And what else was significant about that All-Star game in 1984 was David Stern had been elected commissioner, was going to become commissioner the day after the All-Star game. And one of the things he talked about is the league had done a terrible job, done no job at all in embracing its history. It had no photographic record of its history, had no video record of its history, had no relationship with the players who played. And he said, look, as commissioner, I think this is one of the most important things we'll do as a league. We have to preserve and celebrate the history of our league. So that was in my head as I watched this 60-year-old guy get up and hit a home run over the Cracker Jack sign in right field. I got it. So went in the next morning, went into Stern's office. So I got an idea. So before this, everybody showed up at the All-Star site on Saturday afternoon. We had a banquet on Saturday night, usually a really bad comedian. Played a game in the afternoon, everybody went home. One hotel could hold everybody, came to All-Star. So why don't we take the Saturday before the Sunday, and why don't we do a second day of events? And we can do a slam dunk contest that celebrates the ABA heritage of the Denver Nuggets. And we could do an old-timers game where we can invite all these players who have been such a big part of our history to come to Denver and start to do what you want to do and celebrate our history. Like, okay, I like it. I'm going to go talk to the commissioner, who at the time was Larry O'Brien. And so he came back later that afternoon and was like, yeah, that's not going to work. So, okay. I don't know what happened. A couple days went by. Stern comes back to my office. He says, okay, commissioner says you can do it. 2 conditions. 1, most importantly, you don't embarrass him on his last weekend in office. Yeah. And number 2, there is no budget. You have $0. You got to go figure out how to pay for this. Yes, let's go. So, that's what happened. I was able to go out and find a few sponsors that were willing to underwrite us going to Denver and doing this on All-Star Saturday. The magical atmosphere in the Brown Palace Hotel lobby with there's John Havlicek, there's Elgin Baylor, there's Oscar Roberts, and all these players that had been welcomed back. The writers and broadcasters were going crazy at all these great stories. We show up at the arena. We sell out every ticket at McNichols Arena, $5 a piece. We were a little worried about the ticket price, but we sold them out. And what happened that day was kind of magical, right? Julius Erving came back at the very end of his career to do the slam dunk contest again. He was in the finals against this rookie named Larry Nance. The very last dunk, he did what he had done in the ABA contest. He walked from one end of the court to the other end, came flying down the court, took off, probably not from the free throw line at that stage in his career, but dunked the ball. He lost to Larry Nance. It was really the passing of the torch from one generation of players to another. The Old Timers game was not such a great idea. Now, the player introductions were awesome, as we're introducing these players. The problem is the difference between being 55 years old and playing basketball and 55 years old and swinging a bat, a little different. So those players that we looked at in amazement did not look quite so good running up and down the court in the Old Timers game. So that event only lasted a few years. But really what unfolded that day was magical, thanks to Julius. We got 7 pages of coverage in Sports Illustrated that never touched the All-Star game before. Stern becomes commissioner the next day. People talking about how he's a marketing genius.
Yep.
And he was off to the races. So that all started because I really needed something to be able to sell to keep my job.
Talk to me about the WNBA. You were there at its creation. Did you imagine kind of this moment that it's having now?
I did. I didn't think it would take 28 years, right? So we were feeling pretty good about ourselves in the early 1990s. We had success with the men's dream team in integrating in international competition. And we kept thinking, what else could we do? We built this organization. What else could we do? When I write the book, we can talk about the 6 months we wasted talking to NBC about starting a rival football league. Fortunately, we didn't do that. We talked about starting a minor league, something like the G League is today, because we didn't have that then. That would have made sense. But we kept coming back to this fact that we were the one sport among the major U.S. sports that had this infrastructure for women's basketball in place through our colleges. And that was probably our best opportunity. The problem was our American women couldn't win in international competition anymore. We'd throw together 12 players 2 weeks before the Olympics and tell them to go out and try to win a gold medal against teams that have been playing together for years. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a fair fight. So the NBA agreed with USA Basketball to fund the women's national team. And what that meant was we took, I think it was something like the 15 best American women players, put them together for a year. The legendary Stanford coach, Tara Vanderveer, took a year off from her program, and they traveled around the United States and around the world in preparation, playing as a team in preparation for the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. They were 56-0 in that year leading up to the Olympics. And what unfolded in the Olympics in 96 will always be remembered as kind of all about the American women. It wasn't just basketball, but basketball got a very high profile. The American women win the gold medal, and it really set the stage for us to launch the WNBA the following year.
Did you imagine the moment that it's having now? I mean, when you look at the WNBA, what makes you most proud?
Well, I think what's happening across women's sports right now is quite extraordinary. I think it's really important. I think soccer and basketball are leading the way. I think it's something that is overdue, but I'm absolutely thrilled that today the attention, whoever would have really imagined that the final game of the women's Final Four would be more highly rated than the men's Final Four game? I don't think I would ever see that.
Yeah.
But I did believe that the WNBA would evolve into something really spectacular. As I said, we all kind of laugh at it now. It's like an overnight success 28 years later. All the people that put in so much time, energy, effort, careers to bring it to the point where it now has the showcase that it deserves.
We got to talk about the Dream Team.
Yeah.
You were over the marketing for it. How did you get the Sports Illustrated cover shot in secret?
Yeah, actually, another amazing media relations person named Brian McIntyre, who ran media relations for the NBA, figured out that all of those players who were going to be on that team would be at the All-Star game. And so we set up a secret photo shoot. Now, I wish any of us had been smart enough to name the team the Dream Team. I still don't know who did it. It was a beautiful cover with Patrick Ewing and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and others on the cover. And some great copywriter in a back room at Sports Illustrated wrote the headline, "Look out world, this could be America's dream team." From that day forward, it was the perfect name, and it became universally adopted as the name of the dream team. So that really was the perfect moniker for the perfect team at the perfect time.
What was it like just watching them?
I had the opportunity to go to Barcelona a lot before the Olympics and be with the team there for those 2 weeks. We knew it was going to be a big deal, but none of us really anticipated what unfolded there. I mean, literally, you couldn't get within 100 yards of the hotel where the team was staying because 24 hours a day, there were crowds outside just waiting for kind of a glimpse. Then you had players like Charles Barkley who would say, "This is a great town, I'm going out." And he'd be walking down Los Ramblas in Barcelona with hundreds of people following him down there. It was whatever it was like being around the Beatles in their heyday. That was being around the Beatles in their heyday. And in terms of history, probably the greatest team ever assembled in a team sport in the Olympics. But what that did for the sport of basketball around the world, those 2 weeks moved basketball ahead 20 years. And kids growing up all over the world, South America, Europe, Asia, started putting the soccer ball aside and started dribbling a basketball, which is why we see so many international players in our game today. And basketball really is the only other sport other than soccer that's played everywhere in the world. So it was probably the most important basketball event that's ever taken place for the sport.
Rick, you are such a historian of the game of basketball. I will avoid reading your resume to you, but it's really impressive. Almost 5 decades. I mean, from Seattle, the NBA, Phoenix, Golden State. But I've heard you say multiple times before that you like going someplace that's kind of a mess and then making it all wonderful and beautiful and making it all work. Why the Dallas Mavericks now?
Well, they don't fit that mold, okay? The Dallas Mavericks are anything but a mess. But all the other things that I saw in those other teams are present here. So as I said, like every ingredient for success for a franchise that I think can stand toe-to-toe with any franchise, not just in the NBA, but in the world. All those factors exist here. Look at the place we live. It's a great place to recruit players to come play. Look at the fan support that the Mavericks have enjoyed since their inception in 1980. Look at the corporate base here. Companies, we already have had so many companies that are so influential in the world and in the United States. Now, in the post-pandemic, that number is multiplied, right? So everything that you would want is here. The one thing especially that's different about this and the other 2 teams that I went to, we have a great basketball team, right? That's a new thing for me, to go to a team that actually has a great basketball team, which is a gigantic head start. So look, people like me, the only thing we can really do is present this sport in a way that people can embrace it. We already have the basketball piece of it in great shape. The culture piece of it, thanks to the amazing Cint Marshall and what she's accomplished over the last 6-7 years, is the envy of every NBA team, probably every team in sports. So my job is to preserve that legacy and that culture. At the same time, look forward in our business, because I think we do have some amazing business opportunities going forward, and that's where I know I can make an impact, and that's what we're going to set out to do with the Mavericks.
What are some of your priorities there?
Well, most importantly, we look at everything through the lens of our fans, right? We want to make every decision by thinking about how that impacts the experience of attending a Mavericks game. We're playing in a 25-year-old arena. It lacks a lot of the amenities that we would love to have that could enhance that fan experience and could enhance our business. We still have till 2031 on our lease at American Airlines Center. It is an amazing place to watch basketball. I've had so much fun watching our games here. The fans are unbelievable here. We still would like to invest more in this building. Patrick Dumont in our first meeting was really all I could talk about was investment in Dallas, investment in Dallas, investment in Dallas. At some point, we have to have a place to play that really addresses our fans' needs and our needs. And our needs are to have a facility that will allow us to compete for championships year in and year out, because it can generate the kind of revenue that NBA teams need to be able to compete for player talent at the very highest level. So that's going to be a big part of my job, like figuring that out with Patrick Dumont, with our entire staff, where from here. And that'll be the most important thing. But I think in the interim, we have a lot of opportunity in our corporate partnerships group and our ticket sales group to continue to build the business of the Mavericks. It's going to allow us to do all the other things that we want to do in eventually creating a place where every Mavericks fan, I hope, will walk in the first time they're there and just say, wow, these people get it. They understand Dallas. It's not going to look like any other arena. It's not going to be like any other arena. It's going to be what Dallas wants and what Dallas needs, and what will be the perfect home for the Dallas Mavericks.
Now, Rick, what are those amenities? Peel the curtain back. Give me some more details.
You know, I think often it gets reduced to talking about like our premium customers, our most expensive customers, and what their parking experiences, what their restaurant experiences, but it should affect every single fan in the building. Every single fan who comes in our building should feel special, because there's something for them that nobody else has, okay? If you're in the top row of the upper bowl, there should be something that you get to do that those people with their feet on the floor don't get to do. And that should be true for everyone who's experiencing Mavericks basketball. So we have a lot of ideas. We're not going to disclose them all here. Hope we get to do every single one of them. I don't know if we will. But I do think, again, it comes back to every day waking up and saying, how does a fan look at the Dallas Mavericks? What would make that trip to American Airlines Center even more enjoyable than it is now? Is it the food? Is it, I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm really excited that we're going to be investing, hopefully, in American Airlines Center as well.
So when you talk about priorities, naturally, the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people is, does that mean a new arena, a new place to play, a new place to come watch?
Well, we have 7 years remaining on our time here at American Airlines Center. We would love to invest more in the experience today. Eventually, yes, we have to have the most amazing facility ever envisioned for Dallas Mavericks fans to come watch the Mavericks play. Where that's going to be, how that's going to come about, we have a blank sheet of paper right now. All we know is we're prepared to invest whatever it takes to create that experience. And when people walk in for the first time, I want people to say, whoa, like these people really did understand Dallas Mavericks fans. They understand where we live. They understand Dallas and the area around Dallas. And this is a perfect expression of how we would like to watch Dallas Mavericks basketball. So we're on the clock in some degree to kind of come up with a plan. It takes a long time to build these things, but there's no preconceived notion today of where and how and exactly what form that's going to take.
So, Rick, you're not hiding any drafts or proposals, or
Not yet.
Okay.
You'll be the first to know.
Just making sure. That's good.
Okay.
I'll keep you to that one.
Okay.
But when you talk about some of the amenities and experiences for fans in a new arena sometime into the future, what does that look like?
Well, I think sometimes it gets reduced to a conversation about what your very best customers get to experience. We don't look at it that way. Every single customer, no matter where you're sitting in the arena, no matter what you paid for your ticket, should feel like there's something there special for them that not everybody gets to participate in. And that will be the goal. Like, whether you're in the top seat of the upper bowl or you're sitting with your feet on the floor, there's something about your experience that's unique to where you sit, and other people in the building don't get to experience that. So I think that's our challenge, to make people feel that way when they come to the arena. In Golden State, it took 7 years to build Chase Center. For us, two really powerful local things were local art, and it's a foodie town. The cuisine was really important too. So an inordinate amount of time and energy was spent in curating local art that you see throughout the whole 10-acre complex of Chase Center. A lot of little restaurants that would never have had a platform in a place like Chase Center have that platform. I don't know that those are the same things that are going to be important to Dallas Mavericks fans, but that's our job. Our job is to really understand those fans and to really create something as the essence of this area and makes it feel like home the first time you walk in the door.
of course, you president of the Warriors when Chase Center was built and going through that whole process. And it took quite a bit to get that project over the finish line. How much did you and Patrick Dumont really talk about that experience, and what are you going to draw from that in the process here?
Yeah, I think Patrick spent a lot of time traveling around the NBA and looking at arenas. I think today that's his favorite. I think he thinks Chase Center is the best expression for what he's thinking about. But I think I know he also agrees with me that this building won't be that building. Like, this is going to be something completely unique. You give it a form that lasts for 40 years. We're in the business of creating memories for people, whether that's going to a Mavericks game or whether that's going to your first concert. This is going to create decades of memories for people who live in our home. And so to be able to start with a blank piece of paper, everyone in the organization is going to have a paintbrush and going to have an opportunity based on their knowledge, their experience of presenting NBA basketball, to have a piece of the project and create something that will be, I think, that great expression of what it means to be a Mavericks fan and be a Mavs fan forever.
Do you think sports betting, or do you hope sports betting plays a role?
I'm coming from out of the market. Actually was very surprised that sports betting was not already part of what we do here. What we're talking about is not contingent on that at all. No matter what, the Mavericks need the most amazing place to play that's ever been envisioned. It could inform the shape and other amenities that we have in a project, but it doesn't by any stretch of the imagination drive whether or not we go down this path.
Let's take a little bit of a detour.
Okay.
You have a few championship rings, a little bit of hardware. Looking at the Dallas Mavericks, the current Western Conference champions, what do you think it's going to take for the Mavs to get a little hardware?
Health.
Can we talk about the health? Can we just detour?
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
we got a tough stretch right now.
No, I think it might be unprecedented. I really don't ever remember, and talking to Nico Harrison, president of basketball operations, I don't think he's ever experienced anything quite like this. Now, the glass half full side of that is I love our roster. I think it's beautifully constructed to compete for championships. And the experience that our younger players are getting today, if we get everybody healthy, is going to be invaluable as we go into April, May, and June. So, that's the glass half full look at this, that we're getting experience for players who otherwise would not be getting that experience. So when the time comes that they're really needed in pressure situations, they'll be a lot more comfortable doing that. But we have to get healthy. You can say that about 30 of the 30 NBA teams. If you look at the history of our sport, you have to be healthy when it comes down to championship time. So fingers crossed, we've got the best medical staff that's attending to the injuries that we have now. Nobody's out for the rest of the season. So with a little luck, we could find ourselves back competing for a championship again.
When it comes to building championship culture, what's your philosophy?
I really love, we had this in Phoenix. We never made it to the finals because we didn't play defense. We were really good at offense. The Warriors played offense and defense, but played the same philosophy. And we actually had a marketing slogan that came out of our locker room. It didn't come out of our marketing department in Golden State. That is really kind of what I hang my hat on in answering that question. And it was strength in numbers. And what that meant was the philosophy of the Warriors, the philosophy of the Mavericks is like everybody has a piece of this, okay? And everybody has to understand their role and understand how their contribution affects the success of the team. And if everybody can buy in to what their role is and feel appreciated and energized about delivering that piece of the puzzle, then strength in numbers can win you championships.
What should Mavs fans be most excited about?
Wow, me most excited about is getting to watch a healthy Mavericks team. Seriously, like I spent a lot of time before I got here, fixated on the Mavericks and seeing them when we're healthy, and we're really good. Like we're really good when we're healthy. We have one of the top 5 players in the NBA. In Luka, we have one of the most storied players in Kyrie, and Nico has surrounded them with a cast and a coach in Jason Kidd, that I think checks every box that you possibly could in putting together a team that has a chance, and that's the Mavericks have a chance. We just have to get healthy.
Rick, you've spoken openly about distribution and where you feel like there are opportunities for the NBA, but also for the Mavs. Of course, at WFAA, we're really excited to have Mavs games on our air, but also on KFAA 29.
Yep.
What do those partnerships and really expanding that reach mean to the team?
Well, it's probably a little nerdy, but this is the most talked about business subject in professional sports today outside of the NFL. NFL distributes all their games on a national basis. Baseball, hockey, and basketball, the traditional regional sports model is totally broken, and it's not coming back. So teams have done their best to put together a distribution system, ours on Channel 8, Channel 29, that broadens our reach. We actually have the opportunity now to reach more fans than we ever did in the regional sports network model. So we're excited about that, but this is a period of unbelievable transition in how we distribute local games in local markets across every sport except the NFL. And it's evolving and will continue to evolve. But the model that the Mavericks have put together with Channel 8, Channel 29, really is looked at as a very smart way to go about doing it because we've expanded our distribution. Is it going to look like that in 2 years? Is it going to look like that in 4 years? I don't know. What it doesn't do, in total transparency, it doesn't replicate the economics of the prior system. So we also have to figure out how to get real value out of showing local games in local markets. Right now, we're passing on that to be able to get the exposure and distribution that we have. Eventually, there will be a model that evolves that will recognize the value of that local programming in the local market. We're on a path there. I don't know where that path is going right now, but we'll get there. And in the interim, I think we have a really elegant solution for Mavericks fans to watch our games today.
Rick, in your 2011 Hall of Fame speech, which I thoroughly enjoyed,
thank you.
You talked to your old self, Ricky, not Rick, and you talked about your amazing journey, all the legends you've worked with, all the incredible people in the NBA you've been around. You didn't get emotional, though, until you talked about your husband. You're openly gay.
Yep.
You came out in 2011, front page story on the New York Times that you say now you don't even think would make the front page.
I hope.
What does it mean to you to see that evolution and to be able to be here at this point, CEO of the Dallas Mavericks, openly gay, living your life?
Well, it's a wonderful freedom for me personally. I really had no idea at that moment how it would impact my career going forward. I do remember going to my first interview with the Golden State Warriors saying, holy cow, this is the first time I've shown up at an interview and everybody knows my story, right? If I think back about it, I don't think in the 20 hours of conversations I ever had with Patrick Dumont, we even talked about it. So I guess that's a sign of progress. But listen, it's something I'm very thrilled to have had the opportunity to do because I think it's enabled me to play a little different role in our industry. I think it's enabled me to be a touch point for people who might be in the same situation I was or don't feel like they're in a position to take that step. So the Mavericks, are the epitome of equity, right? If you can do the job, you're going to get the job. It doesn't matter where you grew up, it doesn't matter the color of your skin, who you worship. None of that matters. It matters about who can bring their game and who can do it. And I love that about sports. I mean, that's what, if I was 7 feet tall, I might be able to help our team a little bit more today than I'm able to do it right now. So I think that, sports should be the place where we see that kind of equity. For whatever reason, I think we're still quite a bit behind in that part of our society, but it's an ongoing story and it continues to get better.
In your opening press conference, you talked about looking out in your first kind of address with Mavs leadership, and you said you felt like it reflected the community. No secret at the time where words like diversity and equity and inclusion elicit a certain response from certain folks. Why is that important? You called it a business strategy and not a social one. Why is it important?
I think we're in a time where certain expressions become third rail lightning rods for people who have whatever agenda they have. Forget about calling it that. it is a business strategy. So my view, and it's been confirmed to me a million times, if you have a bunch of people who look alike from the same background sitting around a table talking about your business and how you address your whole fan base, you're not likely to make really good decisions. If you have people sitting around that table with different life experiences, who've grown up in different ways, come from different perspectives, that debate is going to be much more productive, and you're much more likely to make the right decision for the people that you serve, your fan base. So yeah, without hesitation, I call it a business strategy. It is a business strategy. It's how you make better decisions, and businesses that make better decisions are successful. So we're going to continue to do it.
What does Mavs in the community look like to you?
Wow, I am blown away. Yeah, I really am. I mean, we have this amazing platform because of what we do. That's outsized from, any comparison to the economics of our business. And I think that the Mavs are really a great example in sports of how you take that opportunity and really can improve the lives of people in your community. The only reason any of us have jobs because they come out and support the Mavericks. I just think, it is really one of the most proud points for this organization that you can point to say historically, and certainly under Marshall's leadership, we've been able to really touch people in our community with things that have made a difference in their lives, and we're going to continue to do that. It's a big part of what we're about.
What do you think is the greatest opportunity for the Mavs in, say, the next 5 years?
Championship banner. That'd be okay?
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Speaking.
We do this because we're competitors, and we do this because we want to win basketball games, and we know that winning basketball games brings a lot of fun and enjoyment to everybody in Dallas. So listen, every year that's the goal. Every year it will be the goal. But if something could happen in the next 5 years, it'd be the best thing. It'd be raising one of those banners.
You're a month into the job, essentially. What excites you most about this new opportunity and this new role that you've taken on? And after this, are you going to retire for real?
Yes, is the answer to the second part. I've been to Dallas a lot. I never have lived in Dallas before. Overwhelming, the reception. The number of people, like at any game, sitting there, I have 3 or 4 season ticket holders who come over and introduce themselves, welcome me to Dallas, tell me how happy they are that I'm here. Like, this community is really extraordinary. Like, I really didn't have a great sense of that before I got here, and it's been, our staff, everyone has been unbelievably welcoming. My job's right now, I've been doing a lot of listening this first month because I got a lot to learn, and I make no bones about it. I need to figure out a way to integrate myself into the Dallas community and become more part of what we do here. And the journey a month in has been spectacular, and I think it's going to continue that way for a long, long time.
I mentioned your Hall of Fame speech in which you talked to little Ricky, your younger self. What do you think he would say about all you've accomplished thus far?
Dude, take a rest. No, it's, every step has been kind of a dream come true. And I've just been blessed to meet amazing people, have amazing experiences, be a part of a lot of very successful organizations. And, for a kid growing up in Seattle, Washington, going to Sonics basketball games, I could never have envisioned half of the things that happened to me. So every day I'm incredibly grateful, very thankful for the mentors that I've had that have helped me in so many ways, who believed in me, saw some potential in me, and gave me a chance to have more responsibility than I probably deserved at the time. And my job is to pay that back to the next generation of leaders that we're going to have in sports.
Welcome to Dallas, Rick, and thank you for the time, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.